Greetings, this is Charles Darwin, and I'm here to talk to you about the seaside alder in Oklahoma. Now I know that sounds strange because Oklahoma is not seaside, but that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Anyway, I had a video about these plants about 5 or 6 years ago and about how rare they are. This is a very rare species, and it's also a very rare subspecies, the Oklahoma seaside alder. It's found only in places such as the Blue River, which is where we are now, and some of the tributaries and the other creeks that are found in this vicinity. Pretty much just one county in Oklahoma. Well, this time I'm here to talk to you about how these plants are not just growing in the river, but they are creating their own habitat. They are habitat engineers. And let me explain this. Now, as you see, each one of these alders forms a clump, lots of little trunks making up each clump. But you will also notice that at the base of each of these clumps, let me see if I can get a little bit closer here for you to see. Yeah, but at the base of each of these clumps, the alders have started to accumulate some soil, some of the soil and leaf litter that washes down the river. Also, these alders, when some of the branches die, when some of the old roots die and when the leaves fall, they contribute to the soil also. Now, these alders started growing on rocks that are most of the time below the water level, but they have built up little islands. And so this is one of the ways in which the alders are habitat engineers. They create islands in which other species can live. There are some other species living here. There's a sycamore tree starting to grow in some of the soil that has been created by the alders. That's not all. That's just one of 4 ways in which the alders are habitat engineers. The second way is that the roots of these alders have nodules, and inside of these nodules there are Frankia bacteria. And Frankia is one of the kinds of bacteria that has the ability to fix nitrogen. That is, take nitrogen gas from the air and to make it into nitrogen fertilizer. And so what happens inside the roots of these alders is that the roots provide food to the bacteria, and the bacteria provide some fertilizer to the alders. Of course, the bacteria want the fertilizer for themselves, but they produce a little bit too much, and the alders want just the nitrogen fertilizer for themselves. But what happens is when the leaves fall off, when the old roots die, when some of the old stems die, then they contribute to the soil, and this new soil has extra nitrogen in it that was the result of the bacterial symbiosis. So that's the second way in which these alders are habitat engineers. There's a third way, and that is the roots of these alders not only have nodules of bacteria in them, but they also have fungi that live in them, mycorrhizal fungi. And what these mycorrhizal fungi do is they will take phosphorus out of the soil and provide it to the roots. Now, the fungi are trying to get phosphorus for themselves, but inevitably some of it is going to leak out into the roots, and the roots are feeding the fungi, just as they feed the Frankia bacteria. So that is a second kind of symbiosis going on at the same time as the other symbiosis. So there's 2 symbioses going on at the same time, one where bacteria produce nitrogen and the other where fungi absorb phosphorus. Well, that's 3 ways. There's yet a 4th way. And it hasn't been studied in this species, but another species of alder, it has been studied, and that is the mycorrhizae that live in the roots can actually connect together so that what looks like separate clumps of alders may actually be connected together, may actually share nutrients with each other, may actually share hormones and thus send messages to one another. So that if one of them gets attacked by insects, it may be able to warn the others. And so in this way also, that's 4 different ways, these alders are habitat engineers. Isn't that wonderful? And this way of species helping each other out is a product of evolution. Now, when we think of evolution, we usually think of natural selection as being red and tooth and claw and fighting and competition, and that is, in fact, something that happens quite a bit in these species. But what also happens is cooperation, where species gain benefits. Individuals within species gain benefits by cooperating together rather than by competing. And so that is equally a product of evolution And that's what I want to tell you about today. So this is Charles Darwin, tally ho, and amen.